Hello Internet. So today I'm going to be cracking open this Hidden Summoners booster box. I don't really have too much to say about it, so we'll just get right into it. Come on. There we go. So, supposed to be 60 cards in this set, so I'll be curious to see how many of them I get. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay, and so our first pack. We have Tsukahagi, the Poisonous Mayakashi. You can only control one. If a Mayakashi monster is in your possession, except Tsukahagi is destroyed by battle or an opponent's effect. While this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. Decent enough. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, except Mayakashi monsters. So I don't know what extra deck Mayakashi monsters there are. I mean, it's decent enough if you need another blocker, I suppose. Ultra Polymerization. Pay 2,000 life points, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using two monsters you control as fusion material. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one fusion monster that was fusion summoned with this card's effect. Special summon all the fusion materials used for its fusion summoned from your graveyard, but change their attack and defense to 0. Also, they have their effects negated. And that's because it doesn't get rid of the fusion monster. You just have to target it and then you get the fusion material back, so that's not too bad if you're planning on... Yeah, because you'd be able to just use another ultra polymerization right away, or just another basic polymerization. Awakening of Nephthys. All Nephthys monsters you control gain 300 attack. If this face-up card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed by card effects and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Nephthys monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but destroy it during the end phase. You can only use this effect once per turn. Prank Kid Lampsies. I mean, the artwork is cute if nothing else. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the fusion or link summon of a Prank Kids monster, you can inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. You can special summon one Prank Kids monster from your hand or deck in defense position, except Lampsies. You can only use this effect of Lampsies once per turn. I mean, it seems decent enough. And Gold Sarcophagus. Banish one card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase, add that card to your hand. I mean, it seems decent enough if you have something that you want to protect for, backup plan, just in case everything goes sideways in the next few turns. We have Onslaught of the Fire Kings. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, special summon one Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your deck. Its effects are negated. Also, it's destroyed during the send phase. You can only activate one Onslaught of the Fire Kings per turn. Now, I'm filming this after opening the Fists of the Gadgets box, and I've seen the Fire King monsters from that. I mean, a lot of their things seem to revolve around their effects. Their stats weren't... I don't remember their stats being that good overall. But I mean, if nothing else, it lets you fetch something from your deck, and then you can immediately use it for tribute or extra summoning. Tatsunoko. If the synchro summon monster would be used as synchro material, one monster in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. Unaffected. Like, it's a synchro monster, but it's also a tuner. So, I mean, it's not too bad. It lets you use it from your deck, so I guess I can't complain too much. Or it lets it use it from your hand, not your deck, I should say. Fusion Recycling Plant. Once per turn, you can discard one card, add one polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Once per turn during the end phase, you can target one monster in your graveyard that was used as a fusion material. For a fusion summon this turn, add it to your hand. I like this card. One of the big problems I used to have way back in the day was your options were polymerization or you don't play fusion summons, basically. And this, I mean, only having access to 3 copies of polymerization really limited what you could do. And I mean, this just lets you recycle your polymerization cards and recycle your fusion material. Fulfillment of the Contract. Activate this card by paying 800 life points and target one ritual monster in your graveyard. Special summon it and equip it with this card. When this card is destroyed, banish the equipped monster. No, that's nice. I mean, it's just a blanket. Brings out the ritual monster for 800 life points. Really can't complain. Shafu, the Wheeled Mayakashi. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one Mayakashi monster in your graveyard except Shafu, the Wheeled Mayakashi. Special summon it in defense position but negate its effect. You can only use this effect once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Mayakashi. And this one brings himself back if one of your monsters is destroyed. This one brings out other monsters when he is summoned. I'm noticing a trend with the Mayakashi monsters. Also, they're all zombies, it looks like. Prank Kid's Plan. During the main phase, you can activate the effects immediately after this effect resolves. Link summon one Prank Kids Link monster using Prank Kids monster you control as material. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, shuffle any number of Prank Kids cards from your graveyard into the deck, and if you do, the attacking monster loses 1,000 or 100 attack for each card shuffled until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect once. Huh. It's a continuous trap, but there's no reason why you would want it to be sticking around on the field. At least not that I can see anyways. Prank Kids Pranks. You can discard one Prank Kid card from your hand, special summon one Prank Kids token, but it cannot be tributed. During your end phase, you can target 3 Prank Kids cards in your graveyard except Prank Kid Pranks, shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effect once per turn. It's continuous. So, like, this would make sense for wanting to have it stick around because you could recycle the Prank Kids to draw a card. We have Defender of Nephthys. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 card in your hand, and if you do, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Nephthys monster from your hand, except Defender of Nephthys. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effects and sent to the graveyard, you can destroy 1 Nephthys monster in your deck, except Defender of Nephthys. You can only use each effect of Defender of Nephthys once per turn. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card battle sent to the graveyard, you can destroy one monster in your deck. And that's interesting. Rebirth of Nephthys. You can use it to ritual summon any Nephthys ritual monster. You can also tribute monster from your hand or field. Then if you tribute Devotee of Nephthys or Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, you can destroy one card on the field. So it's basically just a ritual monster, or a ritual card for any Nephthys monsters. And if you use 2 specific ones, you can blow up something on the field. You have Devotee of Nephthys. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephthys. You can only use each effect once per turn. If it's ritual summoned, you can activate this effect. Special summon one Nephthys monster from your deck. That's not bad. Also during the end phase, destroy this card. That's less good. If this card is in the graveyard, you can destroy one Nephthys monster or one Nephthys card in your hand, and if you do, special summon this card. So, I mean, that's not... it's a 2-star, so it's very easy to bring out with Ritual Summon. Lets you bring out any monster from any Nephthys monster from your deck. I mean, sure, you lose this card, but I mean, you're pulling out any monster from any Nephthys monster from your deck. We have Prank Kids Bow Wow Bark. 2 Prank Kids monsters. A Prank Kids monster, this card points 2, gains 1000 attack. During your opponent's turn, quick effect. You can tribute this card, then target 2 Prank Kids cards with different names in your graveyard, except link monsters, add them to your hand. Also, Prank Kids monsters you can control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects this turn. You can only use this effect, Bow Wow Bark, once per turn. I mean, it's a link to, requires 2 prank monsters. That's, that seems like pretty decent support for Prank Kids. I mean, you can only buff 1 Prank Kid, but I mean, just the fact that it gives you a blanket protection for tributing it. Miyakashi Metamorphosis. Discard 1 card, target one of your Miyakashi monsters that is banished or in the graveyard, special summon it. Oh, even banished ones it hits. Nice. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this card, except Miyakashi, and you can only activate Metamorphosis once per turn. Ritual Foregone. Pay 1000 life points, special summon 1 ritual monster from your hand, but it cannot attack, also destroy it during the end phase. You can only activate 1 Ritual Foregone per turn. I mean, it's 1000 life points, but if you have a way of using it right away, I mean, you could use it to bring out the 2-star Nephthys ritual monster, immediately ritual summon something else with her. Yeah, because they still get their effects. So you'd be able to, if you had a ritual monster that had a good effect that you wanted to use right away. Thunder Dragon. You can just discard this card, add up to 2 Thunder Dragons from your deck to your hand. I mean, if nothing else, poor stat line, but I mean, you're just using it. You discard it, take the other 2 Thunder Dragons out, and congratulations, you have I guess it would be a 38 card deck, effectively with 3 copies of him in it. Because as soon as you draw 1, you just immediately discard him, draw the next 2. Prank Kids Battle Butler. Requires Lampsis, Dropsis, and Fanzes. Must be fusion summoned. You can tribute this card, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. If this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card, you can target 1 non-fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and you can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, good stats. Shame that it has to be fusion summoned, but I mean, it's good stat line. He wipes the field. or at least wipes your opponent's field. And speaking of, we have Prank Kid Fancies. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for fusion or link summons of a Prank Kids monster, you can send one Prank Kids card from your deck to the graveyard. Then you can special summon one Prank Kids monster from your hand or deck in defense position, except Fancies. Yeah, no, fair enough. Prank Kids Rocket Ride. If this card is fusion summoned, you can have this card lose 1000 attack this turn, also can attack directly this turn. You can tribute this card, then target 2 Prank Kids non-fusion monsters with different names in your graveyard, special summon them, but they cannot attack this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, it's decent enough. You can use it to sneak in 1000 points of damage. Prank Kids Pandemonium. During the main phase, fusion summon one Prank Kids fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except Prank Kids monsters. Yeah, so it's basically just a polymerization without being polymerization. We have Refusion. Activate this card by paying 800 life points, then target one fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and equip it with this card. When this card is destroyed, banish the equipped monster. So it's there's one earlier, except it was for ritual monsters instead of fusion monsters. And we have Tengu, the Winged Mayakashi. One tuner and one non-tuner monster. You can only control one of them. You can use each of these effects once per turn. If a synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 9 is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish one other zombie monster from your graveyard, and if you do special summon this card, I mean, it requires you to banish another zombie, but we have seen the other card that special summons from the banished. So, I mean, that's not even that much of a downside. And if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can just destroy one spell or trap your opponent controls. So, it doesn't do anything when you special summon him the first time, but once he starts dying and coming back, that's when he gets rolling. We have the Matriarch of Nephthys. You can target one level 4 or lower Nephthys monster in your graveyard, except Matriarch of Nephthys, destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster in defense position, but negate its effects. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. Yeah, so I mean, it's decent enough for bringing out more monsters to summon, and or to not summon. Yeah, no, just do normal summons or tributes or extra deck summon. And she has some built-in protection. So, another Prank Kids Fancies. A Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Discard one card, then target one card your opponent controls. Place that card on top of the deck. I mean, considering how much garbage graveyard recursion there is, Placing stuff on top of the deck might actually be better overall. Prank Kids Weather Washer. If your Prank Kids monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you contribute this card, then target 2 Prank Kids monster non-fusion monsters with different names in your graveyard, special summon them. They cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. Yeah, no, it's a big thing seems to be just special summoning out the Prank Kids from the graveyard, so. And Yuki Onna, the Ice Mayakashi. You can only control one Yuki Onna. When this card points to a synchro monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. If a synchro monster in your possession is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is on the field, you can target one face-up monster on the field. Its attack and defense becomes half its current attack and defense until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, it's seems decent enough. Has some nice built-in protection. I mean, it requires it to be a synchro monster that's pointing to, but still. Yasha, the Skeletal Mayakashi. You can discard one of the Mayakashi monsters, special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Mayakashi. I mean, he's 5-star, but, it's a heck of a lot easier to discard a Mayakashi monster, and a lot of them want to be in your graveyard anyways. Chronicler of Nephthys. You can target one Nephthys in your graveyard except Chronicler, destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, add that target to your hand. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed, sent to the graveyard, you can add one Nephthys card from your graveyard to your hand except Chronicler of Nephthys. Yeah, so I mean, lets you pull out stuff from your graveyard, except herself. And can't complain, really. Preparation of Rites. Add one level set or ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add one ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, it's good for setting up your getting the stuff for your ritual cards. I really can't complain. Knight's End Sorcerer. When this card is special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard, banish them. I mean, it's good for making things like the Mayakashis go away. And another Prank Kids Battle Butler. We have Manju of the 10,000 Hands. When this card is normal or flip summoned, you can add one ritual monster or one ritual spell from your deck to your hand. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of him. His stats are nothing really to write home about, but I mean, it's either normal or flip summon, so I mean, at least you could have him as a face down card your opponent swings into it. Wait, no, that wouldn't work, would it? Yeah, so I mean, I guess if you have one ritual card in your one of the either a ritual card or ritual monster, you can play him, get the other half, then use him as tribute right away for it. So that's not too bad. Last Hope of Nephthys. Target one other Nephthys card you control and one card your opponent controls. Destroy them. You can only activate one Last Hope of Nephthys per turn. I mean, it's requires you to get blow up one of your own Nephthys cards, but I think that this would work with the one that when she's destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon her the following turn. We have Hand of Nephthys. You contribute this card and one other monster. Special summon one Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys from your hand or deck. I mean, it special summons it from the deck. It requires 2. I mean, you still have to pay the 2 tributes, but that's not too bad. We have another Tsukahagi. And Hajun the Winged Miyakashi. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Miyakashi monster from your deck except Hajun the Winged Miyakashi. You can only use this effect once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Miyakashi monsters. So, I mean, he's only 1 star, but the fact that he pulls out another Miyakashi monster with him is very nice. We have Shiranui, Spectral Sword. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn this... If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can target one non-tuner zombie monster in your graveyard, banish both it and this card, and if you do, special summon one zombie synchro monster from your extra deck, whose level equals the total level the 2 monsters had. You can only use the effect once per turn. So it's a tuner monster, but from the graveyard. I mean, it is a tuner monster as well, so... I mean, that's... It's not a Miyakashi monster, but I mean, it still fits with the general feel of they interact with the graveyard, because, hey, look, they're all zombies. I'm not even going to ask how you can have a zombie sword. I'm going to assume that the mindset is that it's a possessed sword, but still. It doesn't say ghost sword, it says it's a zombie sword. Flash Fusion. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material. Destroy it during the end phase. Yeah, I mean, considering that I've seen a few things that, you know, bring them back, bring stuff back from the graveyard. I mean, it's a quick and easy way of getting the fusion monster out of your extra deck into the discard or into the graveyard. So, Prank Kid Dropsies. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the fusion or link summon of a Prank Kids monster, you can gain 1,000 life points. Then you can special summon one Prank Kids monster from your hand or deck in defense position, except for Dropsies. You can only use the effect once per turn. I mean, yeah, it's decent enough. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. Once per turn during your next standby phase after this card was destroyed by a card effect, special summon this card from the graveyard. If you do, destroy all spells and traps on the field. I mean, if you have some way of making so he can't be destroyed by battle, you basically just have an ongoing, persistent, annoying threat. Miyakashi Return. Take one Miyakashi card from your deck, except Miyakashi Return, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can only activate one per turn. I mean, it's very nice. I have another Ultra Polymerization. Another Awakening of Nephthys. Another Lampsies. Another Prank Kids Plan. And Oboro Guruma the Wheeled Miyakashi. You can only control one Oboro Guruma the Wheeled Miyakashi. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. If a synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 5 is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish one other zombie monster from your graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can activate this effect. This turn, your monster cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's, seems like a decent defensive card. 3-star though, so I imagine it'd be a little tricky on bringing them out. But I mean, I've seen a few. A lot of them seem to be lower level monsters anyway, so it's not too bad, I guess. We have another Ritual Foregone. Shiranui Samurai. You can banish one zombie monster from your graveyard. This card gains 600 attack, and if it does, banish any monsters that battled this card after damage calculation. These effects last until the end of the turn. If this card is banished, you can target one Shiranui monster in your graveyard, except Shiranui Samurai. Add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. If I had seen him earlier before seeing all of the other Miyakashi monsters, I would probably say that, yeah, he seems decent enough, but considering everything else is the Miyakashis, he seems a little out of place. And the Spectral Sword, I should say. Oh, another Thunder Dragon. Circle of the Fire Kings. Target one fire monster you control and one fire monster in your graveyard. Destroy that monster you control, and if you do, special summon the other monster from your graveyard. You can only activate one Circle of the Fire Kings per turn. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems decent enough for bringing back a larger monster. Prank Kids Dodo Doodle Doo. If this card is link summoned, you can add one Prank Kids spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can tribute this card, then target 2 Prank Kids monsters with different names in your graveyard, except link monsters, add them to your hand. I mean, it seems decent enough for what it does. Lets you pull out spell or trap from your deck and lets you bring the Prank Kids back into your hand. So, next up we have Prank Kids Pranks. Defender of Nephthys. Rebirth of Nephthys. Other than Devotee of Nephthys, I haven't seen any actual Nephthys ritual monsters yet. Prank Kids Fansies. And I have to angle it so I can actually see the text. Tsuchigomo the Poisonous Miyakashi. You can only control one Tsuchigomo the Poisonous Miyakashi. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. If a synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 7 is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish one other zombie monster and you do special summon this card. And if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can have each player send the top 3 cards from their deck to the graveyard. So I'm noticing a trend with the Miyakashis where it's the level 3 one would kick off of this guy going to the graveyard from play. This guy kicks off of the 7-1. So be curious to see what effect this level 7 the level 7 guy has. I don't think the Tengu was level 7. Thought he was level 5 as well. We have another Prank Kids Plan. Another Spectral Sword. Another Rebirth of Nephthys. The Gozen Match. Each player can only control one attribute of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. So, I mean, it's good if you're running specifically one type. Or one attribute, I should say. And Disciple of Nephthys. During your main phase, you can destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, add one Nephthys monster from your deck to your hand, except Disciple of Nephthys. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effects and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Nephthys spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, I'm going to have to remember to check at some point, because this specifically says destroy one card in your hand, and a lot of the Nephthys ones seem to be, they would have an effect where once they were destroyed by a card effect. So are you able to use, like, you have Disciple of Nephthys on the field, you know, let's say this is one of the other Nephthys cards. I destroy this card, put it into the graveyard. Does this count for destroyed effects? Like, does that trigger the destroyed effects on them? Because if so, that's really good. If not, I mean, it's still a really good effect because you can just discard a card. You don't need to draw any card from, you know, to get exactly the Nephthys card that you need. So I guess my question is, at what you know, just how good is very good? Prank Kids Rocket Ride, Prank Kid Dropsies, another Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, another Fansies, and Prank Kids Palace, or Prank Kids Place. When this card is activated, you can add one Prank Kids monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if you fusion summon a Prank Kids fusion monster, you can have all monsters you control gain 500 attack, even if this card leaves the field. Once per turn, if you link summon a Prank Kids Link monster, except during the damage step, you can have all monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack, even if this card leaves the field. Huh. Yeah, no, I mean, that seems like a decent enough way of messing around with your stats and your opponent's stats, so. I have Rivalry of Warlords. Each player can only control one type of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. Another Preparation of Rites. We have another Flash Fusion. And a Desynchro. Target one synchro monster on the field, return that target to the extra deck, then if all the monsters that were used for the special summon, or for the synchro summon that monster in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them. Return that target to the extra deck, then if all the monsters that were used for the synchro summon of that monster in your graveyard, target one synchro monster on the field. So could you target an opponent's synchro monster with this, return it to the extra deck, and then they get nothing? I mean, if so, that's actually pretty entertaining. And another Prank Kids Palace. We have another Awakening of Nephthys, another Refusion, another Chronicler of Nephthys, a Shiranui Spirit Master. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Shiranui monster from your hand or graveyard, except Shiranui Spirit Master, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is banished, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. Yeah, no, I mean, that's lets you special summon from your deck or graveyard, and if he gets banished, you can destroy an opponent's card. Oh no, Tengu is actually 7-star, okay. And his kicks off of level 9, so be curious to see what the level 9 one is. We have yet another Dropsies. Onslaught of the Fire Kings. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monster... Oh, right, this is the one that just lets you special summon. Another Tatsunoko. Another Fusion Recycling Plant. And another Battle Butler. We have another Shiranui Samurai. Matriarch of the Nephthys. Special summon 1 level 4 lower monster in your graveyard. Destroy 1 card in your hand. If you do, special summon the monster and negate its effects. Pretty sure we've seen her already. Another Knight's End Sorcerer. The Poisonous Miyakashi. And another Gold Sarcophagus. We have another Fulfillment of the Contract. Another Bow Wow Bark. Another Metamorphosis. Another Ritual Foregone. And Daki, the Graceful Miyakashi. You can only control 1 Daki, the Graceful Miyakashi. When a Miyakashi monster is special summoned to your field from the extra deck while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect except Miyakashi monsters. And she's a tuner as well. We have another Last Hope of Nephthys. Another Weather Washer. Another Pandemonium. Another Plan. And Yoko the Graceful Miyakashi. You can only control 1 Yoko. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, so this is the 9-star one. If a synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 11 is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other zombie from your graveyard if you do special summon it. And if it's special summoned, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. We have a 3rd Thunder Dragon. We have another Matriarch. Another Fansies. Another Wing Blast. And Nephthys the Sacred Flame. Requires a ritual monster for it. While this card is in the extra monster zone, monsters your opponent control cannot target Nephthys monsters in the main monster zones for attack. This card gains effects based on the number of ritual monsters used for its link summon. 1 is it cannot be destroyed by battle. Cannot be destroyed by card effects, and it gains 1200 attack. And neither player can target this card with card effects. Also, it gains another 1200 attack. So that's quite good. I mean, worst case scenario is you have a 2400 attack wall. And if you can get the 2 ritual monsters, then it's also protected from card effects. Or at least it can't be destroyed by card effects. Yeah, 3 more. It looks like 3 more packs. So we have another Spectral Sword. Another Rebirth of Nephthys. Another Gozen Match. Another Rivalry of Warlords. And Nephthys the Sacred Preserver. You can only use the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, if this card was link summoned, you can activate 1 of these effects. Add 1 level 8 Winged Beast monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add 1 ritual monster from your graveyard to your hand. Or destroy 1 Nephthys monster this card points to, and special summon 1 Nephthys monster with a different original name from your graveyard but negate its effects. Not quite sure how I feel about it. Because, I mean, on the one hand, you'd be able to use this plus a ritual monster to bring out the other Nephthys, but I mean, its first effect is pretty decent if you need the ritual card to bring out a ritual monster. So at least it feeds into the other Nephthys decently well. Another Weather Washer. Another Manju. Another Last Hope. A Hand of the Nephthys. Not sure if I've seen this one yet. You contribute this card and one other monster. Special summon. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because she's the one that brings out the other guy. And Miyakashi. And last pack, we have another Preparation of Rites. Flash Fusion. Desynchro. Prank Kids Dropsies. And Prank Kids Rip Roaring Roaster. Must be link summon. You contribute this card, destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. If this card is in your possession and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target one card in your graveyard, except a link monster added to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, it gets rid of your opponent's spells and traps. It's 3,000 attack. And I mean, at least it brings back a card to your hand if your opponent destroys it. So, I mean, it's Prank Kid seems like an interesting archetype. I also like the Miyakashis, but that seems to be more because it seems to be based off of Japanese mythology than I mean, as far as it goes, zombie effects are zombie effects, but you know, I mean, you have things like the Yuki-onna and stuff like that, so it'd be interesting to see if I can get them to work. But so, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. You know the routine. Thank you.